I feel like there is a lack of representation within the traveling and moving abroad space. And specifically, I see a lack of representation within mothers and especially Latina moms. And to be honest with you, I never saw myself like moving abroad. And now that I'm seeing this wave of like people going back to their homelands, whether if it's where their family came from or to countries that they never thought they would, I feel like there is an opportunity for these people to elevate their voices and to really share the reasons behind why they made the decision to not just move to or travel to different countries, but to bring their families with. And I think that is the important part within this whole aspect of like mamás moving or traveling abroad. Hola, hola. Welcome to another episode of the Viva la Mami podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Cuevas. And on today's solo episode, this will be a pretty short one just because I want to give you kind of an introduction as to the upcoming episodes that I'm going to have in the future. They're not going to be consistent like week to week. It's just going to be based upon when I interviewed these guests and when these episodes will come live. But I want to give you some context as far as with these specific episodes. If you didn't listen to my first episode of 2026, I did share with you that I will be having a new series of podcast episodes. And this is specifically of mamás that have either traveled abroad or have moved abroad con sus familias. And the reason why is because I feel like there is a lack of representation within the traveling and moving abroad space. And specifically, I see a lack of representation within mothers and especially Latina moms. And to be honest with you, I never saw myself like moving abroad. And now that I'm seeing this wave of like people going back to their homelands, whether if it's where their family came from or to countries that they never thought they would, I feel like there is an opportunity for these people to elevate their voices and to really share the reasons behind why they made the decision to not just move to or travel to different countries, but to bring their families with. And I think that is the important part within this whole aspect of like mamás moving or traveling abroad. I love the fact that there are so many mamás and parents overall who are doing this opportunity to not just create wonderful memories with their families, but to allow their kids to explore the world around them. And really, that makes me feel so happy because they are raising global citizens, not just citizens of their specific countries, but they are immersing their kids into different cultures, languages, and really having the opportunity to do something different, especially with us Latina moms. Like, we hardly got to travel. And especially if you are a first gen or second generation mama like myself, like I only got to go to Mexico when I was growing up. Like, I didn't travel and took these like European trips with my family. It wasn't until once I got my career and everything, I had that opportunity. And within my career itself, I was able to travel to countries and kind of be the chaperone for students back in the day when I was working in higher education. So the fact that I'm seeing so many families doing this, whether if it's traveling or moving abroad, it's just wonderful. And that is the whole essence of these upcoming episodes, that they will be a part of a series called Mamis Abroad. And the reason why is so that they can share their experiences, but also they can provide tips and insider knowledge. Even though I am currently living in Mexico with my family, I can only provide you my kind of experience, my insights, and our reasons why we wanted to move. And part of this podcast is to have representation within the Latina motherhood space. And I thought, you know what? Why don't I allow other mamás to be in this show and for them to share their experiences y cómo es, that they are living outside of their homelands. And so I really want to focus on that in the coming episodes. So that way you get to learn a little bit more as to their decision making and kind of giving you that little nudge that if you've ever thought about moving abroad, like this is your opportunity to do so. Porque if these mamás did it, like that means that you can do it too. We're kind of paving the way for you, and we're going to give you this insider knowledge as to what it's like to take your family to a country that you never thought would be possible. So I hope that these episodes will help you to feel inspired and empowered to make the decision. And that is whether if you want to go abroad for like a summer, like during the summer vacations with your kids, or if you just want to take the full leap and move permanently. And so we'll have a variety of mamás that have done a little bit of everything, whether if it's moving abroad for a year or indefinitely, or Latinas that traveled and essentially made the move permanently and grew their families there. So I am very excited to have you listen to their stories, and that way you get a little bit of a POV point of view from other mamás than just myself, because I feel like I've been talking a lot about my experience here in Mexico, and I want to allow space for other mamás to share their experiences. In addition to introducing you to the series, I also wanted to share some exciting news. After much DMs and requests and just like messages from mamás like you, I have decided to create an online community for those mamás that want to move to Mexico. Now, the reason why I am exclusively putting Mexico in this particular forum is because there are specific nuances in terms of moving to Mexico, especially if you're coming from the United States. And the reason why a lot of us are wanting to go back to the country that our families came from. And also, there is a lot of information online about expat life that personally doesn't align with me, and I'm sure with you either. I'm currently a part of these like Facebook groups that are for expats moving to Mexico, and even expats moving to like specific states within Mexico, like for example in Guanajuato. And I just don't see the space that is allowed for people like you and me who are repatriating, okay, like reverse migrating to Mexico. And so I am being very specific to this particular community because I feel like we have always been historically silent when it comes to sharing our opinions, our knowledge, our wisdom. And so if you are a mamá that is looking into moving to Mexico with your family, then click in the link on the description of this episode, whether if it's on this podcast or if you're watching on YouTube, so that way you can join this free online community. I'll be sharing some resources, topics, but also this can allow you to build a community of itself so that you're not alone in this journey. I know that motherhood is already isolating in itself. And having the idea of moving to Mexico can be isolating because you might feel judged. You might get different opinions from family members, friends, coworkers, and all of that. And so I just want to give this an open space and really a brave space for you to be a part of. So that way you can share any questions, any concerns, any fears that you may have. And within this community, you can be yourself and there will not be any judgment. I am very excited. I am just launching this community, but if you have any questions or anything like that, I am offering a free 30-minute cafecito chat so that you can get to learn a little bit more about me and the reasons why we moved to Mexico beyond what we share on social media and beyond what we shared on this podcast. And if you want to work with me, I am also offering one-on-one consultations that are an hour long. So that way I can answer any specific questions that you may have about your move to Mexico. I have become pretty knowledgeable in the process, and this is related to dual citizenship. This is related to how to look for schools in Mexico. Obviously, I'm only in one specific region, but understanding the different types of education systems in Mexico. I also have experience in how to move with your pets. We brought our cat here. We also have experience with moving and bringing your car, your US plated car, from the US to Mexico as well. So this is just like a small sample size of what I can offer to you. But essentially, I just want to provide you with this opportunity so that you can work with me one-on-one, or you can join the free community as well. I will be sharing all of this information in the podcast episode as well as in the description of this YouTube video. But yeah, I just wanted to give you that sort of like update because y'all, like, I've been receiving too many DMs, and as a mompreneur myself, like, it is challenging to not give you that individual attention through a simple DM. And some of the questions are very complex. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Like, I just want to know your situation. So like, if you're willing to spend a little bit out of your pocket and share with me all of your questions and concerns and fears and all of that, then like I said, I am offering one-on-one opportunities to work with me. So that way you don't get to do this alone. But on top of that, you can also join this community as well. And we'll be sharing all of these different tips and insider knowledge that a lot of times these expat groups are a part of, and they don't really share the full answer. And a lot of these responses to like very specific questions are based on a one-sided view, and they're not really giving you the full context, or they don't understand the full context about why we want to move to Mexico. Like, we're not digital nomads. Like, some of us just want to move to Mexico to come back to our roots and be closer to family. A lot of us come from mixed status households, and so some of us are forced to move outside of the US because either our partners got deported or family members. And so we want to be closer to family back home. So there's very unique circumstances, and I really want you to be a part of this community porque we're going to keep being silent. And no, this is our opportunity to have a community of like-minded people, especially if you are a mama who is seeking a better opportunity for you and your family. Okay, amiga, well, that is it. I told you this was a super short episode, but the reason why is because I kind of wanted to give you all this introduction and also this little update. If you want to know more about how to get dual citizenship, I still am offering my digital products. They are available on my website, which is vivalamami.com/shop. They're in my shop page. And then also, if you want to work with me one-on-one, I will be offering those services as well. And yeah, I'm excited for you to join me in this community because, like I said, I don't want you to be alone and feel alone. It's time for us to share our wisdom, our experiences, and that way you have someone behind you. Please share this episode with an amiga that you know. I really appreciate all of the love. If you really believe that this podcast is valuable and resourceful for you in your motherhood journey, you can support this podcast by being a member. It's something very minimal, but I would appreciate that. The reason why is because I am providing these resources for free, but also I am working out of my own heart and soul and passion that I have in making sure that our voices aren't silenced. And that is the whole purpose of this podcast and this platform. We want to celebrate motherhood the way it should be, and not the way that the media and oftentimes comedians perceive Latina mamás to be. If you are able to support me in any way. It doesn't have to be monetary, but it can also be by simply following me on Instagram or sharing this podcast episode with someone, leaving a review, whatever it is. But I really would appreciate your support. And that way we can grow and provide you with the resources that you need in your motherhood journey. All right, amiga. Well, thank you so much for listening. Hasta la próxima y nos vemos in the next episode.